Almost 70% of African-American moms who give birth are single, and that number is a lot higher than other ethnic groups in this country. So why are black moms so often left out of the so-called mommy wars that seem to take up so much of the national conversation on motherhood? Today we have three amazing single black moms to debunk stereotypes and get to the heart of the issues. Do you think that the branding is the problem here? Do you think that if African-American women who happen to be solo parents, if we stop referring to ourselves as single mothers, or if we started coming up with a new branding, do you think that might take some of the stereotype? Or are the issues, the systematic issues, the problems that lend themselves to this circumstance in the first place still going to be there, so it would make no difference?
I think the systematic issues lend themselves to however they're going to be, and that people are going, it's not like we go out and try to perpetrate these mass stereotypes about ourselves. I mean, that narrative comes from somewhere, no matter what type of women we are, what type of things that we do. I don't necessarily call myself a single parent or a single mother, but it's not because I'm trying to throw off a stereotype. It's just because I don't really feel like I'm parenting alone. Like, I have my family who is my village, and they really pitch in and they help out. I have two brothers and my parents and, you know, aunts and uncles, and they have been there for me and for my son in a way that I don't feel like I'm doing it by myself. Now, there are many women who are, and that was the point of my particular article. I think we need to do a better job of building villages. And if you don't have your own family, like, you know, support for single moms in a way, not necessarily government support, but just community support, so that if we raise a whole community of people, that community benefits. So you have to think of it as collectivism, I think.
Stacia, what say you?
I would agree that community is essential to this situation, and I think that within Beyond Baby Mamas, there are women who categorize themselves in lots of different ways. There are a lot of ways to be a mother who is unparted or unmarried. And so we've got some mothers who are cohabitating. We've got some mothers who are simply, they consider themselves unmarried. They're co-parenting in some way. There are women who the father isn't involved at all. There are women who have semi-absentee fathers as their co-parent. So lots of different ways, and women tend to identify however they feel safest. Okay, so they're going to label themselves, or they're going to brand themselves in whatever way they feel most comfortable with, and in whatever way they feel defines best their situation. But to the rest of the world, they're probably going to be referred to as unmarried mothers, because it comes down to the ring on your finger. If you have one, you're married and you're insulated from stigma in a lot of ways. And if you don't, you're going to be stereotyped, and that's just how it is. So it's important for us to do what makes us feel safest and most comfortable and what reflects our reality. So if you feel like you're not parenting alone, and I'm not either, so I feel you, Britni, on that. I have my family with me too, and they're very, very helpful. I couldn't do it without them. But absolutely, we need to make that the case with everybody. We need to make everybody. No mother should feel like she has to do it by herself, and no mother should feel like she has to call herself single in order to be authentic or to be, you know, like a part of this or whatever. You can call yourself whatever you want, but branding isn't the issue at all. Since we didn't brand ourselves, like Britni said, it's society that's doing it. So, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because we're still being stigmatized regardless.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Although as someone who doesn't have family support, my family lives, you know, hundreds of miles away. They're not around. I don't have family to lean on. I don't really have friends in the city to lean on. I am doing it, you know, more or less completely by myself. My ex is not really in the picture. And so, you know, there again, I've had to you know, fortunately have the financial resources to pay for help. And I do that where I can. But I think the larger point is it really doesn't matter, and it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter whether you have a family who's around you and therefore you want to label yourself something else, something other than a single mother, or if you don't have any access to resources and you're doing it totally solo, that's really nobody's business. And it shouldn't be that you have to try to relabel yourself as something else so society will find you more acceptable, because I guarantee the stereotype about black women who don't have husbands is there regardless of why you don't have a husband. So it really doesn't matter how you brand yourself. The stereotype is the stereotype. And sites like Stacia's sites and stories like Britni's stories and my story are important but they're only part of the picture as well. And I think like I said, we really have to solicit the stories of some of these women who were just, labeled even by ourselves as, Black welfare mothers with a bunch of children. That was, one of the things that was said in that Melissa Harris Perry, tape. And, we have to stop doing that. And we have to listen to their stories and hear from them what their situation is. And because if we don't tell their stories and we don't help them tell their stories and share their stories, nobody else is listening to them either.